Okay, looks like we're live. So this is a special live broadcast. It's Friday, April 19th. Usually I'm talking to you on Tuesdays for our weekly webinars, but something came out on Tuesday afternoon that I wanted to share with you. So while I was in the office today meeting with the client, I wanted to jump into the studio here and share this with you. And this has to do with inherited IRAs. So if you're a beneficiary of an IRA, pay attention, because after the Secure Act from 2020 was issued, this changed everything for inherited IRAs. And we have very confusing rules that the IRS has put out. And we've had waivers of the requirements for required minimum distributions from inherited IRAs only. I'm only talking to you folks who have inherited IRAs under the new rules. Not your. We're not referring to your own RMDs. We're talking about RMDs, required minimum distributions coming from inherited IRAs. So let me read this notice to you. So this came out from the SLOT organization, and just read along with me. And if you're just listening to this, I'll be as descriptive as I can, but it's just a few paragraphs that we're talking about today. So the headline is the IRS Waives 2024 RMDs, that's required minimum distributions for IRA beneficiaries subject to the 10-year rule. So we've talked a lot about this in the past in our Financial 15s and our weekly webinars. You can reference those videos on either our website or our YouTube channel. But at the late afternoon on Tuesday, that's April 16th, today is April 19th, the IRS issued Notice 2024-35, which provides relief for 2024 missed required minimum distributions, or RMDs, for IRA beneficiaries subject to annual RMDs within the 10-year payout period. If you don't know if you're subject to that required minimum distribution, it's really very simple. If the person who you inherited the IRA from had passed away and had already began their required minimum distributions, they've already crossed their what's referred to as their required beginning date. Once that starts, that required minimum distribution starts for that original traditional IRA owner, it has to continue. So even though there's this 10-year rule, it has to be all depleted by the end of the 10 years. There are times when you also must take required minimum distributions. Again, the IRS has given conflicting guidance on this from early on, and they continue to waive really the requirement for that required minimum distribution during that 10-year period by waiving the penalty. So yes, technically you're required under the proposed regulations to take that required minimum distribution if the person you inherited the funds from, the IRA from, traditional IRAs, not Roth IRAs, if that person you have inherited that traditional IRA from already began their required minimum distributions, then technically you must continue it. But now for the fourth year in a row, the IRS has waived that penalty. Therefore, you really don't have to take it. If there's no risk of penalty, you really don't have to take it. Again, I'm talking about inherited IRAs for those folks who are subject to the new rules. If it goes back prior to the new rules, you still have to take those required minimum distributions. And if it's your own RMD, you still must take those required minimum distributions. So let me read further on. We're on the second paragraph here. I'll make this a little larger. The new relief builds on previous IRS relief for 2021, 2022, and annual RMDs in Notice 2022-53, and for 2023 RMDs in Notice 2023-54. Notice 2024-35 adds another year of relief by excusing 2024 missed RMDs for non-eligible designated beneficiaries of IRA owners who died in 2020, 2021, or 2022 after the required beginning date. It also relieves missed 2024 RMDs for non-eligible designated beneficiaries of owners who died in 2023 after the required beginning date. So only those folks who passed within those years are affected. This is very clear. You can reference this as often as you'd like. You've got the text in front of you. This is directly from my friends at the EdSlot group. As part of the EdSlot Master Lead Advisor group, we received this immediately on Tuesday afternoon. In you'll see highlighted here. I am right here. Highlight it. This notice does not affect lifetime RMDs, RMDs from inherited IRAs by eligible designated beneficiaries or RMDs by beneficiaries who inherited before 2020. So if you're a eligible designated beneficiary, and I'm going to list those at the end of this, or if you inherited this prior to 2020, or if it's your own IRA, this notice means nothing to you. It doesn't excuse the waiver, or it doesn't waive the penalty. It only applies to those beneficiaries with annual RMDs within a 10-year period. I can't say that enough, so I'm going to read it again. The notice does not affect lifetime RMDs, RMDs from inherited IRAs by eligible designated beneficiaries, or RMDs by beneficiaries who inherited before 2020. This notice only applies to those beneficiaries with annual RMDs within the 10-year period. So very, very important. Adding on to that, in this notice 2024-35, the IRS also says that it expects to finalize its proposed Secure Act regulations issued in February of 2022. We've been doing this for a few years now. So that they will be effective starting in 2025. This means that it is possible these final regulations will be issued later in 2024. So hopefully we don't have to wait for these Band-Aids every year. We have a final regulation on how we must proceed with required minimum distributions. But again, this notice is only for those folks who are affected. Who is affected? Anybody who inherited funds after 2020 and who are not eligible designated beneficiaries. These are not for your own RMDs that we're talking about. If you're a eligible designated beneficiary and you have to take required minimum distributions, the fines, penalties are not waived. You still must take those. If they're your own RMDs, you still must take your own RMDs. They are not waived. It's only for non-eligible designated beneficiaries who inherited IRA after 2020. So what is an eligible designated beneficiary? If you're one of these folks and you're required to take minimum distributions, you still must take those required minimum distributions. Eligible designated, sorry folks, this is live. Eligible designated beneficiaries are surviving spouses, minor children of the account owner, disabled individuals, the chronically ill, or beneficiaries not more than 10 years younger than the account owner. The IRA owner, the original IRA owner. Here's something very, very important to pay attention to. So this is, I'm happy that this came out this soon in the year, because, I don't want to see people take money that they don't want to. Of course, if you inherited an IRA and if you're a non-eligible designated beneficiary and the current rules say that you have to take a required minimum distribution, but now you don't have to because the penalty's waived and you want to, go ahead and take it. These are required minimum distributions. You can take as much as you'd like, but we're talking about required minimum distributions. But a good planning tip may be, if you know that you're the beneficiary of an IRA, your parents, your brother, somebody close to you, a sibling, and you know that you're a beneficiary of their IRA, have a conversation with them to see if it makes sense to convert that IRA to a Roth IRA, because inherited IRAs cannot be converted to a Roth IRA. I was just talking to a client about this. This is a really good planning opportunity for you because it could be beneficial for the person who currently has the IRA, and it could certainly be beneficial to you, especially if you're on a track of converting your traditional IRAs to Roth IRAs, and now suddenly you could inherit quite a bit of money sometimes that is not convertible to a Roth IRA. So I'm talking about an inherited IRA is not convertible to a Roth IRA. So have a conversation with those folks who you know that you're the beneficiary of a traditional IRA and see if it makes sense. Discuss the pros and cons if it makes sense for them to convert to a Roth IRA. If you want my help with that, you can reach out to questions@attleborowealth.com. That's questions@attleborowealth.com. This is a quick one today. I wanted to get this message out there. If you have any questions, reach out to us. Otherwise, we'll see you next time. Take care.